I promise you, retrograde is not a dirty word at all. As a matter of fact, Venus retrograde is one of the most powerful times that you can change your relationship to money and your self-worth. When I say powerful, I am not kidding. So every time Venus goes retrograde, she asks, are you earning, spending, and valuing yourself in alignment with who you are right now? That's such an important question. And Venus retrograde helps you answer it completely and totally. So in this video, I will be talking about Venus retrograde and how to use the energy to change your financial situation. All right, so stick around. You definitely don't want to miss this. Hello, my loves. As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. Pretty sure you know who I am right now, but if you are new around here, my name is Mel. I'm a professional astrologer and sound therapist, and I'm the founder of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So if you're new, hi, hello, and welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So today's video is all about Venus retrograde and what it really means for your money reset. You know, retrogrades, any planetary retrograde is all about the remember, recharge, and most importantly, reset. And with Venus being the planet of money, Venus retrograde naturally is the best time to reset your financial situation. Now, most people don't think of it that way. Most people think about it in terms of an ex coming back or some kind of weird relationship situation. But I feel like Venus retrograde, really where the power lies, is changing your financial situation to get it more in alignment with who you are now and perhaps who you are becoming. All right, so without further ado, let's jump into today's lesson. So roughly every 18 months, Venus goes retrograde for 40 days. And during this time, we get to reevaluate our relationship to love, money, value, fairness. But of course, as it pertains to this series, we're going to be talking about re-evaluating our relationship to money. So first, what exactly happens when Venus goes retrograde? Like, what does it feel like? All right. So first, the energy turns inward. This is a time where we reflect, reassess, and recalibrate. So rather than talking about spending and extending our energy to make money, we kind of take a pause and we kind of reassess perhaps our spending habits. Or we should, I should say, or we just take a really or a magnifying glass to our whole financial situation. That's sort of one thing that can and likely should happen. Next, financial and relational themes from the past resurface for healing. Now, in terms of money, I'll give you a concrete example. Perhaps you're someone who spends recklessly, right? You don't have a savings plan. It's like whenever you see something shiny, you got to buy it. So when Venus goes retrograde, this habit of reckless spending is going to hit you square in the face. This is going to be the time when you're like, whoa, perhaps something happens where, now a bill is coming due or your credit card is looking at you real crazy, right? It gives you a chance to see what you've been up to and how, or it gives you the opportunity to change and heal it. Next, people often rethink jobs, they rethink prices, clients, spending habits, or creative goals. So all of the things having to do with money, when Venus is retrograde, you tend to rethink these things. Like, does this even make sense? Should I be spending my money this way? So it's a great time to sort of cut the fat when it comes to money that you're spending and redirect money in your life into places and situations that are more in alignment with who you are, who you're becoming, and where you're headed. All right. So next, let's talk about money and self-worth lessons. All right. So again, reevaluating is the main activity when Venus is retrograde. So first, Reevaluate your earning model. How do you earn money? How do you make money? How are you attracting money? If it doesn't feel like it's in alignment, it's time for a change. Revisit old opportunities. Old opportunities regarding earning and income may resurface because maybe it's time now, even if it wasn't time for that in the past. Release scarcity stories. This is one of the most powerful activities that you can do when Venus is retrograde. That lack mentality, oh, I can't do this, I'm not going to make money with that. Reevaluate those and release those because they don't serve you and they definitely don't contribute to your financial flow. Redefine value, and not just value in terms of monetary value, but with everything. What do you value in life? That perhaps is the key to changing your financial situation because remember, Venus is about value and also what feels good and pleasurable. So, if something that you're doing currently isn't aligning with this value that you have, maybe it's time for a change. And Venus retrograde is going to bring that up front and center for you. And then finally, reclaim pleasure. This is something that gets overlooked so much. Pleasure is a part of life. It's actually a very vital part of life. And like I said in my last video about Venus and your earning style has a lot to do with pleasure, what feels good to you. Venus retrograde is a great time to reclaim your pleasure, and for some, get reacclimated to it because some of y'all have stuffed pleasure so far under the rug, you don't even know what it looks like. Venus retrograde is a great time to bring that up and reintegrate it into your life and definitely into your financial situation. Now, let's talk about what not to do during Venus retrograde. And this is going to be important because remember, Venus retrograde is about giving us a reset. So these things are definitely the opposite of a reset during Venus retrograde. First, don't make impulsive purchases. Venus retrograde is a time to rein in your spending because you need to understand where your money is going. So that shiny object syndrome, wanting to hop on the latest trend, wanting to get the latest Amazon bullshit, Venus retrograde isn't the time for that. So rein in your spending and don't overspend or impulse buy when Venus is retrograde. Next, don't start brand new financial ventures, okay? Now, if you must, because we live in a real world that doesn't take astrology and nature into account, right? If you have to start something new, like a new job or a new financial venture, you want to go through that 10 times with a fine-tooth comb and with a magnifying glass. You'll also want to partner up with a professional, like a lawyer or a financial advisor who can help you comb through the details explicitly, okay? But if you can help it, don't start any new financial ventures. Venus retrograde is actually a great time to think about financial ventures you want to start once Venus goes direct, okay? And then finally, don't confuse nostalgia for alignment. And this is something that is really not generalized, but it really speaks to all retrogrades. Retrogrades means that things come back from the past, old opportunities, old partners, old ideas, but not all of those ideas are in alignment. Just because it comes up does not mean that it's something that should move with you into the future. Sometimes it's coming up for healing. Sometimes it's coming up for eradication. Sometimes it's coming up because it's like, listen, you're about to level up and you can't take this bullshit with you. So remember, if it comes up, it doesn't mean that it's viable. It just means that you need to reassess it and see if it's supposed to journey with you into the future. So that's essentially Venus retrograde in a nutshell, right? You see how you can really use the energy to reassess and change your financial situation. And that is the whole point of it. So now let's briefly talk about why this matters and some integration tips that you can use during a Venus retrograde cycle. And just for reference, at the time that I'm filming this, it is October 2025. Venus will not be going retrograde until mid to late 2026. So you've got some time, okay? However, these are still tips that you can use anytime, really, in order to change your financial situation, okay? So again, this matters because if you're looking to make a change, retrograde is the time to do that. It's literally the universe telling you to take several seats, giving you the space, if you're willing to take it, to reassess your finances and your money. And if you don't take advantage of it, that's kind of on you. But the universe is like, here's 40 days for you to change some shit when it comes to your money. So use it. All right. And so the first tip that I have for you is journal on what no longer feels in alignment financially or emotionally. Journaling is one of your best friends during any retrograde period, right? Particularly, I'll say Mercury and Venus. And you want to assess, you want to talk it out. Maybe you want to speak it out loud into a voice memo. What no longer feels in alignment? What even alignment looks like for you? Get it down on paper so that you are familiar with it. The next one is revisit your money habits, track your income and expenses with awareness. This is like a great time to act like you've got Venus in Virgo. Venus in Virgo is all about the spreadsheets, the financial statements, and getting things in order financially. Venus retrograde is a great time for that. So maybe you want to create some kind of spreadsheet. Maybe you want to track your expenses more often. Maybe you want to set an alarm in your phone every week to go through your bank transactions and see if they make sense, clean up what doesn't, etc. Next, focus on worth, not wealth. Do I believe I'm worthy of what I desire? And this is a big one. And this is one of those retrograde activities that can really garner the most change and transformation. Oftentimes, our financial situation is really determined by our sense of worth about ourselves. Maybe you don't feel smart enough. Maybe you don't think you can make enough money with this. Venus retrograde is the greatest time for you to sit and think about your beliefs regarding yourself, regarding your money, how you feel about both, and what changes you can make in order to up your self-worth and thereby up your finances. And finally, retrogrades equal reprogramming, all right? So when Venus goes direct, you emerge with new standards, right? It is an upgrade. It is a time where you can do activities that can upgrade you, all right? So the work that you do during those 40 days of Venus retrograde, you'll immediately see those changes once Venus goes direct. And that's how you change your financial situation. Simple, right? Okay, maybe not that simple because Venus retrograde can feel like a hellscape for a little bit, especially if you've got money issues that you need healing. But doing the work is what brings results, point blank, period. Well, the retrograde being a time of reassessment and recalibration. Like I said, it's not just about money and how you spend it. It's really about your self-worth. That is the most potent and transformative part of this whole thing. And that is something I definitely go through in detail in my signature natal chart experience, the blueprint. It's not just about, okay, you can make money with tech, especially if you've got Venus in Aquarius. It's more so about how do you feel about money? How do you feel about yourself? How do you see yourself? How do you show up in the world? And how does that directly affect your financial story? What are your insecurities? What are you afraid of? Oh yeah, we go real deep into that. So you not only know how to make money, you know why you are designed to make money, and that makes all the difference, okay? So if you're interested in signing up for the blueprint, the first step would be to book a free clarity call with me. It's a free 15-minute call where we assess whether this program is right for you, and if so, how we can get started. So the link to the clarity call is in the description box below. And if you're not ready for that, stay tuned for later in the month when I launch Charted, which is a self-paced how to read your natal chart mini course. And in the meantime, if you've got more questions, especially when it comes to the deeper aspects of Venus retrograde, join me over in Cosmic Collective, where you can ask as many questions as you would like during our weekly live stream Q&As, all right? And then the link to that will be in the description box below. And again, don't forget to take the Abundance Archetype quiz and to sign up for the giveaway. But most importantly, if you found value in this video, share it with everyone you know, because Venus retrograde is the best time to change your financial situation. And I really think that people should know about that. All right, my loves. So to recap, Venus retrograde, it's about transformation, reset, and recalibration. Every 18 months, the universe serves it up on a silver platter for you. So if you've been complaining about how you make money, you want to make more, you want to change things, Venus retrograde is where it's at, all right? And so that's pretty much all I got for you for this video. So join me tomorrow where we take things in a little different direction and we talk about Venus aspects. But most importantly, we're going to talk about Venus aspects and whether they can tell you if you are a saver or a spender. Interesting stuff that you don't want to miss. All right, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.